Hello, my name is Joe Vescovich out of the RoedigVesco Commercial Real Estate Group. Today I'd like to talk about zoning issues as they relate to special purpose properties. And before we start, I'd like to clarify, we're not counsel, we're not attorneys. If in fact there's specific questions that you have about your zoning issues, please contact the expert. We are licensed real estate agents that have an understanding of zoning issues, but we are not providing in this video any counsel. As agents of real estate transactions, we practice within the states of PA and New Jersey and are often asked about zoning issues, and justifiably because they're an important aspect of a real estate transaction, particularly as they apply to special purpose properties, and for this purpose we're going to talk about churches, schools, and daycares. Within both states, the zoning issues often interpret themselves as, is the property zoned residential, is it zoned industrial, is it zoned retail, and so forth. Use tends to be a different issue, so we're going to stay away from that in this discussion. So regarding the zoning issues, if a property is zoned residential, how can it be used as a church? Well, let's jump into that. So we're often asked, well, how can the church be zoned residential if it's operating as a church? And the simple answer is normally, in most cases, the church has been around for quite a while. And think about this. If it's a church, school, or a daycare, particularly the churches and schools, they're oftentimes embedded or nested into a local community, in large part because the congregations, the memberships had been part of that community. With the advent of the car, well, everything has changed, and that's where some of the discussion comes. So what's the issue about zoning when it comes to the residential? Well, one of those situations can and often is the on-site parking. Again, since most churches were part of the community, there wasn't oftentimes a need for parking. Under the current zoning requirements, there's off-street parking requirements, and also you have the neighbors in the community that really don't want to be bothered with heavy congestion midweek or even on a Sunday morning or a Saturday for services. So this requires an application for a variance. Oftentimes, if it's a church to church, then that's a given by right because it's already been a pre-existing condition. However, what happens if in fact it's a situation where it's another use to a church or church to another use like offices and so forth? Well, in those particular cases, you need to go apply for a variance and request approval from the municipality. Let me give you a couple specific examples. We've worked with one client where there was absolutely no parking on site. What we did is we approached the local township commissioners and the zoning officer prior to going to close, and we got everybody on board with the fact that they were going to be using the church for continued operation as a church. In that particular situation, it happened that there was a park with a parking lot, a public park with a parking lot down the street, and it was agreed upon that on a Sunday morning or midweek, it wasn't heavily used and it would be a natural overflow. In another situation, we're working with a church that has and is considering purchasing an office building. The zoning is commercial and it requires a certain amount of parking spaces under the code. For conversion to a church, it would require an increased number of on-site parking spaces because of the number of people. We've already approached the zoning officers and they have given us a verbal that this will be a tough road. So the issue is does the church go fight the community and get what they want, or do they back off and find another property? In this particular situation, they're going to back off and find another property. You will have to make those decisions on your own. So zoning is simple and it's not. And from our experiences, it really doesn't have a uniform answer. Every situation seems to be unique, as real estate is. So we appreciate the time. Thank you for joining us. And we are RoedigVesco Commercial Real Estate. For more additional information about us, go to www.roedigvesco.com. Thank you for your time.